Geologists are out with a very startling warning that Southern California is overdue for a major and possibly catastrophic earthquake. A new study says it's expected to hit along the San Andreas Fault north of Los Angeles. It could have a magnitude of 7.5 or higher. That's big. For the first time, scientists are closer to knowing when it could strike.
If you use it.
We just had an earthquake. It was astounding. It was like this house was sitting on giant ball bearings. I mean to tell you what, it was a good one. It was a real good one. I heard a rumble this way, and I'm like, what? And then I started like this and getting dizzy, and I looked at the mirror here, right, and they were back and forth, right? And then I looked at the blinds over there, right? And they were shaking. Then I looked outside and the trees were going. This was a good shaker here in Pahrump, Nevada. 7/4/2019. It hit at 10:35 a.m. Don't know the seconds, you know, but we got hit, and we got hit good. It was a heck of an experience.
But let me tell you, I grew up in high school and junior high. We've been hearing about an earthquake coming in California for years. What makes this different?
Well, before it was all hocus pocus and black magic predicting earthquakes. And I was born in California, 10 miles from the San Andreas Fault, living under the shadow of the big one. Now we can quantify this. And we now know that the San Andreas Fault is locked, loaded, and ready to rumble.
Making sure that nothing is going to come down in the studio here.
And it is going for quite a bit, everybody. It continues
this is a very strong
to rattle
earthquake.
Pretty strong here.
8:21 here on the air. We're experiencing very strong shaking.
Wow.
I think we need to get under the desk.
All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back after
We'll be right
this.
back.
Wow.
Oh my god. Anna! Oh my god. I got it all on video, dude. Oh my god. I got it all on video.
Oh, good. I mean, I don't know if that's good.
Holy crap.
Return.
Folks, we're experiencing an earthquake right now.
Whoa, yes we are.
Can you feel the earth below you?
Yes, I can.
The score clock is shifting ever so slightly.
I think they're going to clear the players, and appropriately so, as that scoreboard above midcourt was moving quite significantly.
The play is currently suspended. They just sent both teams back into the locker rooms. They're trying to wait until these speakers stop swaying.
The games have been suspended for the night here at Thomas and Mack. There are some acts of nature that eclipse everything, and this is one of them. This game has been postponed due to earth.
6 against winning teams last year, and suddenly they think OBJ and Olivier Vernon.
We are having an earthquake right now.
Yeah, we are having an earthquake in Los Angeles. Yeah.
That was a big one.
That was about 10 seconds of an earthquake in Los Angeles.
I don't think it's done.
I thought somebody was grabbing my desk. I've never been in an earthquake. Certainly not on the air. We'll take a break.
A powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake has hit Southern California, sending terrified residents out onto the streets. That quake caused some damage in Ridgecrest. Homes shifted, foundations cracked. There were multiple fires there. Some injuries were reported, but thankfully no deaths.
So there's a chance that the worst may not be over. And consider this. We've been on the air for New Day for, 14 and a half minutes now. And in those 14 and a half minutes, there have been 11 aftershocks. The strongest 3.5 magnitude. Experts say that there is a chance that a stronger earthquake, stronger than 7.1, could hit Southern California in the next few days.
Looking at soil laid down hundreds of years ago, and we find 10 major earthquakes in the last 1,000 years. The difference in time is roughly 100 years on average.
Yeah.
The last big one was 160 years ago. So according to one calculation, we're 60 years overdue for another big one.
You're talking about the great 1857 quake, right?
That's right. It was a huge 7.9 earthquake that was so big it actually liquefied the soil north of Los Angeles, like halfway between Bakersfield and LA.
And the tremors in that quake, by some reports, it lasted up to 3 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're not talking about just a few seconds, like maybe in a Northridge type earthquake. We're talking about an earthquake that lasts for minutes. And also the U.S. Geologic Survey did an estimate of property damage. What could happen if the 1857 earthquake happens today? The numbers are frightening. $200 billion in property damage. That's billion with a B.
Yeah.
California residents remain on edge tonight. 2 major earthquakes and 3,000 aftershocks have rocked a wide area over the past 3 days. Carter Evans shows us those hit the hardest are starting to clean up.
From the outside, the damage to Bill and Marilyn McKee's home doesn't look too severe. But this is what the quake did inside. It's where the McKees were when Friday night's 7.1 jolt struck.
It was crazy because everything that survived the first earthquake didn't survive the second.
You're inside when this chimney collapses into the roof.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I don't know how we made it out the front door. There was stuff just stacked up. I had to rip the door open.
Their community of Trona was closest to the epicenter. These cracks in the road are a direct result of the shifting fault line below. In nearby Ridgecrest, security video shows just how violent that magnitude 7.1 quake was as it shook the town, sending almost anything not bolted down flying off the shelves. And to those outside, swimming pools became mini tsunamis. That memory still fresh for everyone in Ridgecrest, where today many found comfort in their faith.
We have never seen a sequence like this suddenly stop, right? So the aftershocks will continue. It's following a pretty traditional pattern, but on the high side. So if you know, how many aftershocks will you get to a 7? Some of them have just.
Did you feel the earthquake earlier today? There was a 5.0 earthquake in Little Lake, California. Now that's just outside county lines near Ridgecrest. That happened just before 1:50 this afternoon. And since then, we have felt 10 aftershocks in that region. And the strongest in that area, as you can see right here with all these white dots, was actually a 4.3 that happened just after 10:30 this afternoon. So this is something that we will continue to track as they happen.
Earlier this morning, a large earthquake struck off the Oregon coast west of Bandon. The 6.3 magnitude quake was centered about 180 miles from Coos Bay. It was recorded at about 8 a.m.
A powerful earthquake has hit major Turkish and Greek tourist resorts on the Aegean Sea. The magnitude 6.7 quake struck at around 1:30 in the morning when most people were sleeping. Now, on the Greek island of Kos, 2 people are thought to have died in the Old Town when the walls of a building reportedly collapsed upon them. Many historical structures and hotels have also been damaged. And in the Turkish city of Bodrum, holidaymakers took to the streets for safety, and many were so frightened that they spent the night sleeping outside. The quake triggered a small tsunami that toppled boats in the harbour and was strong enough to move cars along the shoreline. Turkish authorities in the region have warned people to be careful of aftershocks.
Bali is cleaning up after a powerful earthquake shook the nation, the second tremor within a couple of days. 5.7 magnitude quake was felt at around 8 a.m. local time, southeast of the island. It's estimated to have been more than 100 kilometres below ground. Minor damage has been reported and some tourists were forced to evacuate from their hotels.
A 6.5 magnitude earthquake struck off the south coast of Japan early Sunday morning. According to the Japanese Meteorological Agency, the quake occurred at around 3:31 a.m., 144 kilometers away from the city of Shima, Mie Prefecture. Tremors in Mie Prefecture were strong enough to make hanging lamps sway and be felt by pedestrians, and there were reports that the quake could be felt as far away as Tokyo. No tsunami warning has been issued so far.
Good evening. WA's Kimberley coast has been rocked by a massive earthquake hitting 200 kilometres off Broome. The 6.6 magnitude quake was felt all the way from Darwin to Perth, described as a once-in-20 years event.
A terrifying 60 seconds as a 6.6 magnitude quake hits our northwest.
Oh, what do we do?
Walls shaking, glass breaking, restaurants evacuated as the massive tremors began rolling through.
Everything is shaking. And the shop was just swaying from side to side like the whole building. It was pretty scary, and next minute stuff's falling off the shelves.
Good evening. Our top story tonight, a 5.8 to 6.2 magnitude earthquake off the coast of BC near Port Hardy and Bella Bella was reportedly felt by some here in the Lower Mainland. The tremors off the coast.
Molten lava and ash has exploded into the sky as Sicily's Stromboli volcano came to life. The eruption killed a hiker and sent dozens more running for safety, some leaping into the ocean.
This was the moment it blew. A live webcam providing a much safer vantage point than what people were confronted with in the village below.
Oh my God.
Witnesses say there was no warning. Stromboli volcano had simply blown up. An enormous smoke cloud was visible from nearby Sicily and the Italian mainland. Channel 9 reporter Damien Ryan was among those holidaying in the area.
We're on a boat and the driver said there'd been this massive eruption. Nothing like this has occurred, he said, for 50 or so years.
This is the local fire service heading in. They were calling it a rescue operation. Within hours, a tourist was confirmed dead, killed by a falling stone.
Officials have issued a warning after a volcano erupted near the country's third biggest city of Bandung.
Ash was sent hundreds of metres into the air and covered nearby roads. The alert status of the volcano has been elevated and the tourism spot has been closed.
Indonesia has a number of active volcanoes on its most heavily populated islands of Java and Bali. Nearly 300 people were killed when the country's most active volcano erupted 9 years ago.
In Climate Watch, Germany has set a new temperature record for the month of June as the European heat wave continues to scorch the continent. A temperature of 101.5 degrees was recorded near the Polish border. That breaks the previous record set just a few days ago. All-time June records have also been set in Poland and the Czech Republic. Temperatures in France have dropped off to the high 90s, but the heat and humidity are still causing problems. Just a few days ago, the country set an all-time record of 114 degrees. And in Vatican City, Pope Francis is praying for people who have suffered from the heat wave. The weather has been blamed for at least 2 deaths in Europe.
The weather map looks like it's on fire. A brutal heat wave will scorch more than half of the country this weekend. 195 million people across 34 states are now under heat alerts. Parts of the upper Midwest and areas along the East Coast could see temperatures that feel like 110 degrees.
And even at night, temperatures in many cities may struggle to drop below 80 degrees. This means the heat will increase at an even faster pace the following morning.
My God. This is freaking insane.
The scale of the flooding across Green Country is really hard to comprehend. Osage Sky News 6 HD has flown over most of the flooded areas this week. News on 6's Brian Dorman shows us the scope of the devastation.
Keystone Lake is still releasing 1.6 million gallons of water per second into the Arkansas River. That's less than earlier this week, but neighborhoods along the river are still underwater.
Tonight, the MTA is calling out a construction company for this mess inside of a Queens subway station. A massive wave of water at the Port Square 23rd Street station in Long Island City. See that plywood wall there gave way during last night's storm, sending water gushing onto the platform. You see a man there swept onto his feet just as that train was pulling in. The MTA says a construction site next to the station did not have the proper pumping system to drain all the water, causing it to build up and bust through the wall. It's not clear if that rider knocked down got hurt.
There has been a massive rainstorm here, really dangerous flash flooding in Washington. Look at this, cars halfway underwater. Some people actually had to get on the roofs of their cars. to be able to get out, essentially. MSNBC meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking this for us. Bill, as somebody who lives and works in Washington, my phone's been blown up with those warnings of flash floods for the last, 2 hours or so. When's the city going to see some relief?
It's starting to go down now. But, Hallie, there was water in the basement of the White House that had some flooding. I mean, yeah, there's the picture of that. I've never seen or heard of that before. On Pennsylvania Avenue, just outside the White House, there was 2 to 3 feet of water in some spots, and some of the roads on Constitution Avenue are just closed. The airport's obviously been closed down because of the heavy rain. Getting the Dulles, I heard, is ridiculous right now. Some of these people actually they didn't wait for the firefighters to come. The water was starting to get higher and higher, and so some people actually...
Evidence of the mess that happened at the Virginia Square metro station on Monday morning. Water absolutely poured from the ceiling onto the track below.
I've been riding the subway for 25 years, never seen anything like it.
Another person sent us video from inside a train that had just been to Virginia Square. You can see the water beginning to flood the floor as some passengers seem shocked, others take it in stride. And it wasn't just Virginia Square that had problems Monday. This video posted to Twitter is of the elevator at the Pentagon station. The wet floor sign seems a little unnecessary. We asked Metro how all this could happen. They say at Virginia Square it was a case of way too much rain in too short a time, overwhelming drains above the station, forcing single tracking until those drains caught up.
Oh my God, dude, seriously, you doing this, dude? Oh hell no, he's driving.